So, ladies and gentlemen, our first inductee was born November the 2nd, 1946, in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And that's a hard one, Kosciuszko. You ever been there, Spain? I've never been there. It's a farming community. His father was a Marine, and he grew up in a military family along with his brother Grady and sister Cindy. And as a child, they moved a lot because they were military. His father later became a football coach and a teacher, and they moved to Jackson, Mississippi. After graduating from Mira High School in 1964, he attended Ole Miss and Mississippi College, and he worked as a federal Indian agent, where he served as a liaison to the Choctaw Indian tribe before beginning a teaching career. Our inductee taught history in the Jackson Public Schools and was ready for a new challenge. He decided to open an antique shop, and he operated the shop for several years, all the time studying about antiques and art, fine collectibles, amassing a great knowledge of his product while going on buying trips, conducting appraisals, and attending auctions. After a while, he became bored, and quite frankly, teaching was not making him a lot of money. So he decided in 1976 to auction off his store. His former business partner was said to have said that he bought a microphone and he sat around the antique shop practicing all the time, waiting for the opportunity to do his auction. After a while, he became very bored with all that and decided it was time to have the sale. He was so confident, and those are the people in this room that know this individual, and some of you already know who it is. He was so confident, he said he couldn't think of anyone better to conduct his auction than himself. He said, how hard can it be? So he acted as his own auctioneer, and he found out exactly how hard it could be. He later stated the crew was horrible and the auctioneer was worse, but he got it done, and he never looked back. He found a natural place behind the microphone. He was articulate, liked dressing well, and his sense of style became his signature. By now, he had obtained his real estate license like his father, and he was off to the races. Within 2 years, he was selling real estate by auction, conducting charity events, and one day a week, he would sell containers of antiques from England and Europe. Through it all, he did it the hard way. No formal auction training, just learning from observing others and relying heavily on his expertise with fine old things. He was a voracious reader. Speaker and writer on antiques, he steadfastly favored more diversification as the auction profession embraced the 21st century. You see him here. He's conducting a tax sale of a major motel. As an auctioneer, he was the most recognized name in Mississippi, and when it came to notoriety, he knew how to promote himself. Because of his knowledge of antiques and all the assets that he sold, his appraisal business was great, and he had a wonderful business acumen. He was selected to liquidate the bankrupt Andrew Jackson Insurance Company in 1992. He even sold the CEO's mansion. He owned his own art gallery and was well known for selling and buying artwork as one of the very first auctioneers to offer African art in Mississippi. The benefactor of this particular auction that you see was the owner's daughter, who would use the funds who would attend law school. There was no one in the South that sold more plantation properties, southern mansions, or fine estate antiques than him. In 1995, when it was time to auction off a defunct casino, it was our inductee that sold the assets of the Biloxi Belle in a 3-day auction that drew over 1,000 attendees. Most of you know by now, I am talking about Larry Allen McCool. And in the 80s and 90s, he was living the high life and building an excellent career. He was also getting involved in professional associations and increasing his network. Larry served 4 terms as president of the Mississippi State Auctioneers Association. He was instrumental in writing the Mississippi Auctioneer Law and served as the first Mississippi Commissioner of Auctioneers. Larry pretty much invented the benefit auction business in his home state of Mississippi and in Memphis, conducting about 25 fundraising auctions a year at no cost to the charities, and over time sold everything from a part in the movie The Firm to Elvis's clothes from his suitcase packed for the tour the night that he died, to Minnie Pearl's hat, Buffalo Bill's pistol, and Humphrey Bogart's toupee. Humphrey Bogart's toupee. In 1995, he donned the cover of Mississippi Health Scope 2000 magazine with the title Mr. Medical Fundraiser, auctioneer Larry McCool. He had movie star looks and the style to go with it. In 1998, in Oklahoma City, he was elected to the NAA board and served his 4-year term. He worked hard and was a huge advocate to merge the National Auctioneers Association and the Auction Marketing Institute. In the fall of 2001, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, though he never smoked, and attributed it to secondhand smoke. And he worked tirelessly as a spokesman for legislation to ban smoking in public facilities and was featured in anti-smoking television ads for the American Cancer Society. Following chemotherapy in 2002, the cancer had gone into remission. In 2003 in San Antonio, many of us were there. I sat next to him on the dais. He was elected president of our great organization. While sitting with Larry at St. Dominic Jackson Memorial Hospital during chemotherapy treatment, he told me that other than the birth of his children, this was the crowning moment of his life. And he had many plans for his time as NAA president. Most of them revolved around education, organization, solidarity, and ensuring the professional auctioneer would remain a major influential figure in American business. In August of 2003, Lori and I were married, and we decided to spend our honeymoon with Larry McCool. He had insisted that we come see him. I'd put it off, but something told me I needed to go. This is where we needed to be. That week consisted of us watching an 80-pound man, try to get healthy by riding a stationary bike and lifting weights. Watching him taste fine wines, he loved wine. He introduced me to wine. I blame Larry McCool. He would sip on wine and spit it out, because he couldn't ingest it. He asked me to sit in bed with him and watch his San Antonio presidential address and hear him tell me how he wanted to make sure that we accomplished the goals that he had set forth in San Antonio at that conference and show. And finally, and most painfully, we watched him do the best he could to interact with 2 teenage sons who were just trying to cope with everything, and they did not understand. It included having him proudly give me a personal tour of his childhood haunts, including his grade school, the Country Club of Jackson, his family members, lifelong friends, and important people to him. We had known each other for just 5 years because of the National Auctioneers Association. But we became closer than brothers in the course of 1 month. We returned again in September at his insistence, and we stayed and attended his very last benefit auction. Working as a ringman for Larry McCool, that hot, sultry September night was undoubtedly one of my most memorable auction experiences. This photo captured by Lori is one of the last known photos of Larry doing what he loved to do most, performing the duties of fundraising auctioneer-in-chief. Against his doctor's orders, weak and gaunt from battling cancer, Larry planned to conduct the annual Candlelighters Children's Cancer Benefit Auction sitting in a wheelchair, but that afternoon he laid down to take a nap and he died peacefully at 1:30 p.m. Thursday, October the 2nd, at his home in Madison, Mississippi. Now, though he is not here tonight, physically, his spirit is, he's here. There's no doubt in my mind he's here, and he's loving this. Larry loved a crowd. His spirit and impact lives on with us as he influences higher education and success for generations of auctioneers for many, many years to come. The Larry McCool Scholarship Program provides tuition assistance to qualified auctioneers to attend Course 1 of the CAI program. The fund was created from the buyer's premium collected at his estate auction. Most of the recipients these funds have gone to, these folks have never met him. They've only heard the name. Interestingly enough, Larry McCool completed CAI 6 months before he died. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a little overdue, but we know God has the plan. And I am so honored to present you with the first member of the 2015 class of the National Auctioneers Association Hall of Fame, the first Mississippian to serve as NAA president and the first Mississippian to be elected into the NAA Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Larry A. McCool, CAI. Accepting Larry's Hall of Fame plaque is a young auctioneer in his own right today. Is his oldest son, Sterling, who you saw in the photo at the end. He's an auctioneer doing what his daddy did, and he's doing it in Mississippi every week. And he's going to come up and accept his father's plaque, along with his mother, Cynthia McCool. Come on up, Sterling. I'll read the plaque real quick, and then I'm actually going to pin Larry's pin on Sterling. Presented to Larry McCool, Madison, Mississippi, in recognition and appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the profession of auctioneering and the National Auctioneers Association as the 2015 Hall of Fame Award recipient. We're going to have Sterling say a few words.
It's truly an honor for myself and my entire family to have my dad inducted to the NAA Hall of Fame. He truly cared about this organization, and he definitely gave, more than he took throughout his entire career. And I'd definitely like to say thanks to Mr. Mike Jones, the Hall of Fame board, the board of directors, all the board members he worked with, and all of the NAA staff he worked with as well. And also a special thanks to all the auctioneers who helped liquidate his estate back in 2003, and they did so free of charge, which really speaks volumes of the auction community and the industry as a whole. I know this would mean so much to him, and it means so much to us. And we'll try our best to keep carrying on his legacy. And thank you very much for inducting him into the Hall of Fame.
Mine is just short and sweet. Words are really inadequate. Thank you so much. This means so much to our family. I just hope Larry touched your lives as much as you're touching ours tonight. Y'all are our family. You've been our family for a long time. Thank you so much on behalf of the McCool family with all my heart. Thank you.
Now, there's one more thing, because you know there always is one more thing. And I'm asking Sterling to stay by here. Your father very much hoped his family would embrace the auction profession, and he knew he was not going to live to see this day. Now, I was blessed and fortunate to spend some of Larry's final days with him, and he had asked me to do a couple of things on his behalf. The first was to oversee his 2-day estate auction, which Lori and I basically stayed in Jackson for 3 months and stayed there and helped put that deal together, and with a group of wonderful NAA volunteers. And I'm not going to name them because I'll forget somebody, but you know who you are. And they did pay their own way to Mississippi and stayed there and did the job. But Larry had one more request, and now it comes 12 years later. And I'm going to present you with your father's very rare ivory head gavel and block. It is engraved Larry McCool, Auctioneer. Congratulations, Sterling. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.